Hello, Big Show nerds. Once again, I am Dustin, bringing you all of the nerd news headlines for October 15th, 2019. There is quite a lot to talk about in this episode, so let's hit up that intro real quick so we can get to it. Let's jump into TV news, shall we? First up on TV news, we have some more Crisis on Infinite Earths confirmations, and this is just becoming ridiculous. And then in Rumor Mill, we're going to have a couple more rumors for who's going to be in Crisis. So the scope and size of this, it's going to be spread out over 5 hours, so like it's not as big as some people wanted to think, but I still think it's reaching critical mass for sure. So, confirmations. Right now we have Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer on the Lucifer show that is on Netflix now for its final season. Lucifer is confirmed to be in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, as well as, hold your freaking breath, Michael Keaton is having a cameo for, so Batman 89 is canon, or it gets its own universe, I guess. So that's pretty nuts. But so it's not Michael Keaton exactly. It's Michael Keaton's image. It's a picture of Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and it's announcing in the newspaper that he is going to be marrying Selena Kyle, and we're going to see Robert Wuhl potentially, and this one is, we're jumping the gun on the rumor mill a little bit, but potentially what the report says is that Wuhl will be reading the newspaper that has Michael Keaton's face on it as Batman. And Wuhl, if you remember, was the reporter in Batman 89. The name of his reporter was, where did it go? Alexander Knox. So presumably that means he will be returning as Alexander Knox. Yeah, very interesting. Next, we're talking about Star Trek Picard, and nothing necessarily to do with the first season, other than the fact that Alex Kurtzman said that they are working on season 2 already. So this is continuing that trend that we've been seeing with these streaming services. They know that they have a hot ticket item, and they're renewing it before we actually get to see it to tell them that it is in fact a hot ticket item. Not that they're really gambling too hard with Star Trek Picard, because, I mean, come on, you have at least half of the fan base, if not more, that loves Picard over Kirk, but also people that don't really watch Star Trek know who Jean-Luc Picard is, so again, it's a pretty safe bet for them, but they are, in fact, working on season 2 already. That sounds more like it's in pre-production than actual production or even photography, so it could still not happen should season 1 not go over as well as they're hoping. Next, we're talking about Stranger Things Season 4, and a couple of weeks ago, the Duffer Brothers on Instagram said that they're going to start every Friday. They're going to release the movies that they're talking about while they're writing the script for season 4 that week. So that will give us some idea on kind of the things they're going to be including into season 4. And so this week's announcement for the movies, they're calling it Video Store Fridays, is The Peanut Butter Solution, The Fisher King, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. How are they going to incorporate that into freaking, that's awesome. You've Got Mail, and Ordinary People. So if you are super hardcore on the Stranger Things, then you've got a little bit of homework to do. If you're not familiar with those movies, and there's 1 or 2 on there that I haven't watched in a long time, but if you're not familiar with those movies, you've got homework so you can have a sense of where they're going to be taking season 4. We also had a quasi-announcement that Stranger Things Season 4 will, in fact, be the season that we thought Season 3 was going to be, in that it's going to expand the world of Stranger Things. And so we're going to get out of that tiny little town that we've been in, which kind of is exactly what they set up in the last episodes, right? So that should be expected. Next, we are talking about Walker, Texas Ranger. Yes, I think we've got one last update on this show before we stop covering it, and that is the fact that it has finally, and this was totally seen a mile coming pretty much, it has finally found a home on the CW. Surprise, surprise. It was not officially set to be going to CW. There were a couple other networks that had their hands out that said, hey, maybe we might want this. Jared Padalecki is going to be on the CW until he retires. I'm convinced of it. Next, we're talking, and this is the final thing for television news. We have an announcement from Will Smith, who seems to be having a Will-assance, like the Keanu-assance that we're getting with Keanu Reeves. Will Smith is using his production company to do a sequel series to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We have very little else to go on about that, because right now it's just announcement, hey, we've got the rights to do a thing, so we're going to do the thing. Though, the speculation has been going crazy with what could be included, like the fact that he has a famous family at this point. 2 of his 4 children are actors as well, Willow and Jaden, so they will likely make an appearance. His wife will probably make an appearance, if not play his wife in the series, because I don't remember a lot of how The Fresh Prince ended. I don't think he ended with a significant other. It will be interesting to see how they pay tribute to the actor who played Uncle Phil, as he has since passed. Also, for those that don't know, Uncle Phil was the voice of Shredder in the 88 version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon that went all through the 90s. That Shredder was voiced by Uncle Phil. So yeah, there you go. But that's what we got for TV news. We're going to now move over to movies, and in movies we have an update for The Walking Dead. Scott Gimple, who used to be the showrunner for the AMC series, is now the producer in charge of content, I think was what the title was that they gave him. He's saying that the Rick Grimes trilogy is going to also function. It will fold into the mythology that they have for the existing TV show for Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. But also he's saying that it's going to function as a standalone as well, so that people who aren't as deep into the mythology of The Walking Dead, or who have never seen a single episode of The Walking Dead, are going to be able to find bearings and know what's going on and understand everything. So, my interpretation of that is, be prepared for some plot holes. Yeah. But we're moving on. Next, we're talking about Cinderella, and apparently this is also a thing now. Cinderella, Sony is actually doing their interpretation of the fairy tale, and they have made some final castings that are pretty interesting and are talking to another potential casting. So the final castings that we have so far are the title role is going to Camilla Cabello, as well as the Fairy Godmother will be going to Billy Porter. And then they're in talks with Idina Menzel to play the Wicked Stepmother, which makes freaking sense. Idina Menzel, again, for those not in the know, was the original Maureen in Rent, and also the voice of Elsa, I believe, in Frozen. She's the one that sings the Let It Go song, so, you know, there's that. Also, Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. So yeah, interesting. Moving on. Next, we have our first trailer for Doolittle, which was once The Amazing Adventures of Dr. Doolittle, but then they just shortened it to Doolittle, the one that's starring Robert Downey Jr. Link to that is in the description. They changed the name with the announcement of the trailer, so interesting. And then our final piece for movies has to do with an old movie from, I believe it came out in 2001. It might have just been set in 2001, but I believe it came out in 2001. Training Day is a thing. So they are doing a prequel to Training Day that is set a little more than a decade. No, about a decade prior to the events of the first movie, that is going to be taking place in and around the Rodney King riots. No real announcement as to who will be in the movie, but we did get the announcement that First-time screenwriter Nick Yarborough, is going to be the one writing the script for it. So, interesting choice, Warner Brothers. Don't know why you would choose to reboot that movie specifically, but that's what we got for movies, guys. Now we are going headfirst into rumors. That's right, rumor mill is happening. Yeah, so exciting, right? So first off, we already talked about the Michael Keaton thing and the Robert Wuhl being Alexander Knox. But also, there is a rumor that Christopher Reeves will be somehow making an appearance in this Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event. One report said that it's going to be a hologram of Reeves, which seems dumb, but it kind of makes sense though, because remember, Brandon Routh will be playing the Kingdom Come version of Superman and not the version of Superman he played in the movies, because that version of Superman is technically the same Superman that we got in the original Christopher Reeves starring roles. So Superman 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes, there were 4 of those, even though only 2 of them really count. Those 4 Superman movies were all Christopher Reeves, and then Brandon Routh picked up the role of the character, and now Brandon Routh is not being that version of Superman, which has led to rampant speculation, as well as some quote-unquote insiders saying, well, that's because Christopher Reeves is going to be in the crossover as Superman. So there you go. Also, and this one's actually kind of sort of confirmed, but I left it in rumor mill because I couldn't substantiate exactly where the news was coming from, like who leaked it or whatever. But in this crossover event, we are getting 2 characters from the Titans. So like I said, just the entire size and scope and scale and everything about this is a little ludicrous at this point. Next rumor we have is around She-Hulk. You know, with Disney Plus coming out next month, we're going to be seeing a lot of Disney in the news, and so we have, supposedly, we have William Hurt returning as General Ross for the series, which also potentially leaves the door open for Liv Tyler returning as Betty. Maybe if they've, I mean, it is Disney, they do print their own money, so maybe. Next, we're keeping on the Marvel train. We're talking about Captain Britain, and Captain Britain has been name-dropped in an MCU movie at this point, so it's not too as far off the beaten trail to say, well, maybe they're going to include him in a movie somewhere down the road. Well, it seems that they're potentially going to be giving him his own movie, starring none other than Henry Cavill. Take that, Warner Brothers. Supposedly, Marvel is looking to cast Henry Cavill in the role of Captain Britain, which would make sense because he is British, and that just means Superman's becoming Captain Britain. I don't know. It fits. It's a rumor, though, so it might not happen. Next, we're talking, again, still in the Marvel world, we're talking about Excalibur. And yes, we know Kit Harington is playing the character in the Eternals movie, but now they're saying that they want to give him a movie. Industry insiders say that anyway. Quote unquote. I use that term very, very loosely when it comes to rumor stuff. So, because nobody's gonna put their name on something until it's been confirmed by the studio. So you can't really root out exactly who it was that name dropped a lot of this. Sometimes they do, and we've talked about those guys, you know, the dude from Forbes and so on and so forth. So Kit Harington maybe getting his own movie as Excalibur. Also, still in the Disney Plus side of Marvel, we're talking about Wanda Vision, and this one actually, the first leak of this rumor happened over a month ago, but it kind of sort of got a little bit more substantiation last week in that we will be seeing Wanda's children in the Wanda Vision series. Those children being Wiccan and Speed, and reportedly their inclusion in the WandaVision series is going to be a backdoor kind of setup for the Young Avengers, which we've also heard rumblings about, we've covered in previous episodes. So, yeah. One last thing on the Marvel train is Jane Foster Thor. The rumor started this week that we will be seeing a trilogy from Natalie Portman and Disney as Jane Foster Thor becomes the Thor in the universe, because reportedly Chris Hemsworth is going to be done after Thor 4. So that one I'm less inclined to believe. Not less inclined to believe that they want to give Natalie Portman a trilogy, because that kind of makes sense, but that they want to get rid of him, or that they're going to be not bringing Hemsworth back after Thor 4, kind of doesn't seem to hold a whole lot of water to me. But again, rumors! And our last rumor for the episode is kind of an extension of one that we've talked about in the last couple of episodes, in that WB Black, their sub-label movie imprint, whatever you want to call it. They are reportedly, like we talked last time, they're potentially going to be doing a Lex Luthor movie, a la Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Only this will be obviously starring somebody playing Lex Luthor. That will be a one-off movie. Now, apparently, they are going to be doing the same thing to the Penguin. That will be a one-off movie that has nothing to do with the rest of the DC extended universe. So Jonah Hill, even though, again, rumored that he took the Edward Nygma role and not the Oswald Cobblepot role, Jonah Hill will not be involved. But so again, rumor is that they want to do Lex Luthor and now also Penguin in the same vein of that Joker movie. So be interesting if it comes to light. If not, it's just rumor and you can't get mad, right? But that's what we got for the interesting rumor mill for the episode. That does it for this episode of Headlines Nerds. For more in-depth conversation on these nerdy bits, plus much more nerdy action, like the Silent Hill game that maybe might have just been announced, and maybe the fact that Rob Liefeld seems to be going into legal proceedings against Marvel. Yes, all of these and more, so much more, over on Generally Nerdy, my personal YouTube channel. You can go over there and check out all of the more in-depth news. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and share right here on the Big Show Entertainment Media platform. Also, don't forget about the 2 contests we have going. You can see other videos on the channel that will explicitly lay out all of the requirements for those 2 contests. The first of which being a PS4 Pro, and the second of which being one of those real lightsaber things. If we're giving away 3 of those and 1 PS4. So again, for details, check out other videos on the channel. But don't forget to tune in next time for all that's happening across the nerd world.